and I've always still been a big fan of film, but even that started going out and it started turning more into, no, I really just like parkour. And what does that mean? And it's like, well, I want to build something I think people can learn on. I want to insure these people so they have a safety net. I want to put on competition so we can somewhat start finding out who the best is.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is the competition director for USA Parkour and is the creator of Nail or Fail. Please welcome back to the JAMCast, Mr. Robbie Corbett.
Hey.
What's up, Robbie? Or Corbett for those that like it fancy, right?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people think it is Corbett, but I'm not French at all. So
Yeah.
it's like, maybe it'd be cooler if I was. But
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Target, Corbett. Oh, man, this is crazy. You know what is more insane is that as of April, it has been 3 years since you've been on the JAMCast. That's how fast time flies.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
That
That is crazy, yeah.
Add in 2 years of a pandemic plus you being over in New York for a few years. And yeah, 3 years, man.
Oh, yeah. So it would have been the recap of the Cup like 2019, because it's not 2020. I was in New York. Yeah. Jeez. Wow.
Crazy. Time is flying. We're getting
we
old.
did the thing, though, the clips one.
Yeah, when
I
you
don't
were
know why I
coming
did
back.
this for the clips,
I
but it
don't
was
know.
just faster. Yeah.
That was for the Jam Breakdown.
Yeah, I did that. So maybe that, yeah. So I've been around.
Yeah, insane, man. And for those that don't know, I guess, how long were you over in New York for? And what took you over there, I guess? And what brought you back? Better question.
So yeah, moved to Manhattan. Literally lived one less than a block from Times Square, the southern central, like where all the horses line up and stuff, and right across from Trump Tower, basically. And that was actually my girlfriend, still current girlfriend. She was offered a really good promotion to go there corporate, and she comes from a family that's a little bit more hometowny and everything like that, and they weren't actually very positive with that position given to her and the opportunity. So when she came to me, I said, you know, I would do it if it's something you want to do. Like, when could you ever live in Manhattan and do that kind of world? And at least I think you would regret not doing it more than regretting doing it. Yeah. And so then she was smart and basically said, well, would you come, or would we have to break up? And I was like, I thought about it for like 2 seconds. I go, I'd move to Manhattan. That sounds dope. Sounds like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Totally.
And I felt obviously my roots were strong enough here. Technology's so good that I could probably just slide over there, not tell too many people. And it worked to where there was a few gigs and jobs that I'd get reached out to from producers, and they'd be like, hey, can you be here next week to do this? And I'd either find a way out of it and give it to somebody, or I'd come.
Just fly,
Yeah. And I'd say the first year it was amazing. Made a lot of great connections. Really was like, I'm not a fan of New York.
I could never live there personally. I enjoy visiting for a few days.
I said that too. I've never lived in a place with seasons. I grew up in Florida.
Totally.
I moved to LA. Didn't see snow until I was 22. Saw it, was like, I get it. Not interested.
Same.
So it was all those factors, and it was one of those to where I've never been a fan, and I might get it wrong, but I never liked the ego of it. I never liked, the kill or be killed, the aggressive, competitive. I like competitive, but I don't make it personal. Like, me and you go to an audition. If they pick Trav, they didn't want Robbie.
Yeah, totally.
It's not Trav's there to beat Robbie.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be one day, but once it's over, it's like, I don't care if Trav got the job or I got it. New York, to me, I never was a fan of that. Like, because to me, it's not personal, the competitiveness, or in my opinion, I try not to make it personal. It's business. And the pro of going there that I was most attracted to was work was doing so good for me everywhere else. I already had so many countries lined up for certifications, competitions, stunt work, film work, whatever, in other places. I go, I don't have to go there and be friends with anybody if I don't want to. I don't have to go to any auditions there if I don't want to. Yeah. Like, I was already structured enough for the first year to just be there and feel it out and not have to dive in to pay the bills or whatever.
Totally.
So,
And since you're traveling so often as well, it's not even like necessary. It was a home base in a sense, but at the same time,
easier.
You're always traveling.
That was way easier to go to the UK or come to LA compared to when I'm in LA and I have to go to the UK or go to the East Coast.
Cut off some hours, right?
Yeah, it's tougher. Yeah, going that way.
So I got to ask though, what do you prefer?
Oh, LA.
Okay.
Yeah, LA. I never owned a scarf. I never owned gloves. I never owned snow boots. Like, all that right there. I'm not comfortable in any of that. Like,
I don't do winter, bro. I do summer and not summer.
I still don't do winter, and I can honestly say I don't like it because I didn't have to go out. So I just knew I didn't want to.
Yeah,
We were like,
yeah.
you finally get to see Central Park covered in snow. It's a once in a lifetime thing. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I saw it, but I wasn't interested, you know, like, and I just knew, like, it made it way more helpful. Also, I'm not a fan of the public transportation. I like call me American, call me whatever, world pollutant man, but I love being in my own car, setting my own music, vibing my own way. I don't like the whole train thing.
Same.
I don't like the walking, and I'm like in everybody's way. And I know they can just walk and just put their head down and go.
Head down.
But I feel like then I'm the one that's obligated, you know, so it's just not for me.
It's a different energy. The only thing I do enjoy is things being open later. I do enjoy that. That is one thing that's cool.
I thought LA would be like that when I moved here. Like, oh, it's going to be open forever. And it's not.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'll give New York, though. Decent pizza, halal carts are dope, and things are open late.
One of the best things that saved me was the One Bite thing blew up when I was there. So I literally would just try their pizza.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. Central Park was great. Just every single morning, I'd just go for a walk through there. During the pandemic, that pretty much saved my life because we were in a room smaller than this. Me and my girlfriend just kind of stuck there, but we could literally just, in less than 5 minutes, be out of our apartment and be deep in Central Park walking, and like nobody was there. So that was great.
Yeah.
So it had its pros and its cons. Obviously, once it became I Am Legend for like 3-4 months, I was like, I'm over this. Once all the little mom and pop shops were closed up and everybody had to go line up at the Whole Foods because that was the only one they said could be sanitary.
Of course, yeah.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Once I was there for the riots and stuff, and I got to see.
I saw some of your footage
literally
on Instagram.
Firsthand. Yeah. During the day, it was great. I went out one night, and I maybe lasted like an hour and a half in my own neighborhood, which was a very nice neighborhood.
Yeah, upscale neighborhood.
Before being threatened multiple times or just being called a cop or something, because I was just observing.
Yeah.
Some very illegal acts, which I understand. It's fine, whatever, going down. And people didn't like that, you know. So I just
100%.
was like, yeah, I'm going home.
Amazing, man. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And like we said, like it's crazy that 3 years just passed in between. Because obviously we just keep in touch over the phone. Because I mean, let's be honest, even when you're here in LA, we're both so busy. It's not like we see each other as frequently. Anyways, we almost still exist over the phone, and that's why I told them, I'm like, yo, just come on the goddamn JAMCast. Like, I'm doing these for legacy, for history, so I can see you. Like, this is a good excuse for us to like sit down for an hour and not be watching the UFC fights or being on our phones and things like that. So we can actually catch up on life and everything you got going on. So
yeah. No, I appreciate it. It was funny, yeah, when you called me yesterday and you want to do it, I said yes, and then right away I went to think like, well, shit, I can't talk about this thing. I can't talk about that. I don't have highlights of this yet. I don't have this one fully mapped out yet. So then I'm just like going there, I'm like, well, I mean, you just said yes because I wanted to, but I was trying to think of a strategic reason, and then the more I just thought that, I said, fuck it, like, that's okay. There's no strategic reason on this one. So
no, and at the same time, I think we're all our own harshest critics in the sense that you're like worried about things you can't talk about or that you don't have a lot going on. But like, dude, I do know you have a lot going on, which is why I even asked you. Like, clearly, if you didn't have anything interesting within the movement space, I wouldn't invite you to be a guest on the JAMCast. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of being my friend, I just wouldn't do it. You know?
Yeah, I thought of it that way. I was like, obviously, yeah, he's not calling me on just to shoot the shit, because sometimes when you're shooting the shit, you go into certain portals that potentially you don't want to do public because you're learning as you're talking.
Yes.
And stuff like this can be dangerous to do that with. And not in the sense of I can't handle it and you can't handle it, but we have no idea who's also listening on this conversation and what they already know of us or don't know of us. So
totally.
That to me alone was just also exciting, was just to go in and say, let's just feel this through instead of trying to think it out.
Yeah,
let's just do it.
So yeah, man, I feel like a lot of people in the parkour and free running community know about you through your involvement with the WFPF, whether that was like doing the certifications for instructors, or like I said at the start of the episode, being involved with the USA Parkour World Cup and everything going on. So what is your current involvement, I guess? Are you still doing teaching certifications, or are you focused primarily on the Parkour World Cup right now?
Well, the World Cup, the Parkour Cup just wrapped up. It wasn't technically a World Cup. We used to do that, but the U.S. athletes were getting upset, which I don't blame them. They wanted kind of their event. So we scratched that a bit, and we brought in the more international vibe, just as special guests.
Yes.
Either, we brought in Jimmy the Giant just to document it, because I don't know if he's ever really seen the U.S. movement in that way. I don't think many people have, so not to be rude to him. So that was great. And then we brought in Verky as well as George PK to judge. So they got that aspect of it. 'Cause I think they both, one of them I think is like the big trick clean, but big trick kind of guy at the moment. And the other is more the technical, line filling, versatile flow guy. So I thought both of them would bring great perspectives as well as bringing in Jimmy. So, and I think that also encouraged a lot of the US people to be like, I've always wanted to meet that person. Yeah. Or I'd be okay being judged by that guy.
That's the thing.
So that's why we did it.
Yeah.
It does. So there's always I have this problem with judges. I'm always more about substance over hype. And I've seen some of these comps where they have these big name judges, but then you ask them how they're judging and it sounds so subjective that I think it's like, just, to me it'd be the same as LeBron James all of a sudden as a ref. I don't know if he actually knows how to ref fairly and follow the criteria, which you'd rather have, not to be rude, than the hype, where somebody's like, I don't think I agree with him, but he's such a big star, I'm intimidated to go talk to him. With ours, we let them talk to the judges before and after. We let the judges, first I come in and do a safety speech about just setting the tone, which is first and foremost, if you have something in your head that you want to do that you're going to be proud of to watch back 30 years from now, do that. If that's going to make you happy, do that. If you want to win, here's the rules.
Yeah.
And then I explain the rules broadly. I point out each judge and what they're doing. And I said, now during your next 30-minute warm-up or whatever it is, go ask them any questions you have about your run. Go do it. Because the idea, too, is we don't want it to be like an athlete versus a judge ever. We want them to work together. We would love the athlete to be like, I'm going to do this big thing. And then the execution judge just says, well, you better land it safely. If not, I'm docking. And that's not going to make up for your it's going to take down your difficulty points.
Yeah, totally.
And stuff like that, versatility is always a big one. People are like, oh, if I go to this bar and I do a cast back, that's bar, right? And they're like, no, that's drop. And they're like, why? I go, well, bar is about swinging or precisioning. It's not about basing and flipping off the top. That would be drop. Yeah. So it's those kind of conversations help them hopefully mold a more successful run by the criteria compared to a subjective kind of way.
Yeah, and I've always been a big fan of trying, if you have the opportunity to integrate judges that are also relevant at the current time, because a lot of times you end up, even in Olympic competition, for example, you get a lot of people that are judging that are legends in the sport, for lack of a better term, or people that are big authoritative figures or representatives of large scale teams that are very well known, but there's almost like a disassociation and disconnect between them and the current times and the current moves that exist, the current culture. And so for me, like to see judges like George McCown and Travis Verkiek out there, these are guys that are at the top of the game right now, respected by their peers, throwing down some of the hardest moves in 2022. And so for me as a competitor, I would definitely want to be judged by my peers like that, who I almost, look up to, for lack of a better term, as opposed to used to look up to,
Yeah, absolutely. It's finding that balance. Who's available, who's genuinely interested in putting their self aside and having more a behind the scenes role, because we try not to also like blast these judges out there, so they might because they get bombarded sometimes. Then like we found, the earlier we put them out, people that aren't even coming to the competition start bugging them with questions. And it's like, well, you're not even coming and competing. Chill, watch it unfold, you know what I mean? And so I'm learning a bit more why, like, say UFC does it the way they do it compared to why or how MLB does it or cheerleading does it and stuff, and seeing the pros and cons to all of it. In this case, number one, just so we're clear, those were my first picks. Like I wanted Jimmy, who's so good at documenting the sport, to come see this side of the sport that I don't think he's ever seen before, to show him something new. I was very interested to do that, as well as George and Trav. They're the two I watched the most. So I was also a bit like, wow, these would be my two picks. And it was also then when I asked them what they wanted to judge, it helped the most, because Trav said flow and George said difficulty, which I was like, that's what I would love, because how Trav connects these difficult skills so well. And then George's level of difficulty isn't necessarily one big trick. It's like connecting multiple big tricks in the right kind of way at the right areas and stuff too. Totally. So when they just talking to them and how what their goals were aligned with mine, flights didn't align at first. It cost us a lot to redo all their flights. They all got canceled the week before, and we had to book all new flights, but it worked out. And it was like for me, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think for them it was like a dream come true too, like scenario of seeing it in the best light, and following through in the best light, and just being a great first trip and project with USA Parkour and them.
I think one judge I'm just going to throw in the mix, I'd love to see Ed Scott. And I only say that because, A, he's at the top of the game as well, training alongside those guys. But I also feel like he has fell victim to the judging system in a few Art of Motions, where arguably some people think he should have won 2 of them and did not win. And so I would be very, very interested to see how he does as a judge and what his take on it is, having been someone that may have felt robbed, or the viewing audience felt he potentially could have been robbed as well.
I don't think I've ever watched an Art of Motion where somebody didn't say somebody got robbed. So it's And I've been watching since Art of Motion 2.
Bro.
I saw Art of Motion 1, but I think it was the week after. I didn't quite, that was a tough thing. But at least since 2, and I competed in an Art of Motion. I judged another one, and I designed the course for a third one. So for me, I love the Art of Motion for what it is, but it's not something that I think really is the most official competition for our sport. I think everyone there's a robbery. That's how it's designed. Just so we're clear too, for people listening, I generally would not go out and ask somebody if they want to be a judge. It's people who come to us and first say it, because that's somebody. I know a lot of parkour people, which is totally fine, will take any opportunity given to them because there's not many.
Of course.
And to me, being a judge is like something you should definitely want to do and really think about first, and understand how much the competitors are putting their trust in you and how much you could steer their whole career outlook or opinion, which is already a bit weird, of competition in the sport. So it's not something that we'll just pick anybody. It's not something that we'll just go that way. But you were also the one who recommended me to be a judge for MTV's Ultimate Parkour Challenge. So...
And I did so because you're not biased. You hate everybody the same.
There's definitely an even level. The old me had a certain level of what was considered good and what wasn't considered good. I'm a bit different. I still judge comps. I don't think I judge like a top level one anymore, just because I have too many relationships with the tops. Not that I don't think I could. Like obviously, like the last one we were at, we almost lost 2 judges due to the snowstorms that were happening. We lost four females the day before that were coming from Texas, Atlanta, and New York. Gone. So stuff like that happens to where I would step in that situation and judge, and I think I could be unbiased and be fair and stuff like that. And but yeah, your recommendation, obviously, like what I was trying to get to, definitely speaks highly. If that's something Ed's interested in, I'd love to have that conversation. Because I think you obviously are good also. Sometimes I think you're a bit too ahead, though. You'll see the potential in somebody years before they do.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So I also take that in consideration when you're like, Robbie, think of this person. And part of me is like, 3 years from now person, or I need them this weekend person.
It's funny.
Let me have a talk with them first and see where they're at.
I'm in the same boat. I personally have no desire to judge anymore. I think it's honestly one of the most difficult things to do outside of commentary live, because that's another thing people don't realize is like, it is so hard when you're just looking and you get one shot to instantaneously allow your brain to decipher a movement, and more importantly, to judge a movement comparative to someone else. It's a lot easier when you're on YouTube watching it and you replay the clips and you're rewatching it and comparing it. It's like, that's easy. Anyone could do that. But do it on the spot is hard. And, I've told this story in the JAMCast before. The last time I really judged a major comp was a Red Bull comp, and I voted for Nick Vale to win over Anise. And I'll never forget how mad Anise was at me. But personally, I felt he lost that night. And I was just being completely non-biased, even though he was one of my best friends at the time.
And you threw caution to the wind by making Anise mad at you, because that is somebody I would never want mad at me.
He was angry. But I just felt like, you know what, man? I'm judging this unbiased. I'm judging this based on a few factors. And I just felt like he lost that night. And, it was a lot of pressure. I don't want to judge ever again. So, I feel you.
Yeah, we'll see if I can convince you.
We'll see.
In our sport, the beauty is, they're not like trained fighters at the end of the day.
What's he going to do? He's going to plyo jump me in the chest?
Yeah, I feel pretty confident against 90% of the parkour athletes, if I pissed them off as a judge, that we wouldn't get to striking just... Yeah. I mean, there's some that obviously I would not want to roll with.
Totally.
But
I'm not making Eric mad. But
no, I've made Eric very happy, luckily. I think I've made Eric happy enough. purposefully, but he's won so many of my competitions. I mean, I think there was 3 competitions in a row that he made more money at than anybody.
Of course,
like even myself who put it on and was trying to do it all. Not that I make a lot of money off the competitions, but those ones had sponsors, so there was budgets. And I remember, him just taking home so much money that I was like, cool, I hope you remember this.
Yeah.
Not that my criteria was for you, but it seems to work with you.
So I got to ask a tough question here, just because I ask all the questions on here. Jared Ludi, do you think he deserved the score that he got?
I actually don't know what score he got. So I can't speak to that. Like, I can't tell you his points or score things. Do
you think he deserved the place he got?
I would have to look at and see who all beat him to go through it. I do feel I was asked before it was brought. So number one, as the comp director, I'm not allowed to sway judges.
Yeah, of course.
We don't have...
Unless we pay him enough.
I do not pay them enough.
Unless we pay you enough.
I'll pay me enough. Yeah. So number one, my hands are tied. It's to the judges, and I try to pick.
No, that's what I'm just asking.
What is the most accurate? I would have to look to see. I completely, just so to be as clear as I can, I 100% agree with who was in the top 5, deserved to be in the top 5, and the way the top 5 were planned out. I think those judges got that absolutely correct. The big thing that's tough in the judging, I'd have to look to see what Flo gave him, what this gave him, is when I watched Jared's run, if I'm trying to remember, his versatility once again wasn't 100%. He didn't tick every single box. I think his only bar trick was a lache to like stomp inward side. So the bar trick would only be a lache to splat technically, and then the punch inward side would be a wall trick.
Flip,
yeah. So I do know in the qualifier in Texas, he did that stomp side back and caught the bar and did something. So that was worth more. And then I think he missed something else, like vault he had vault. So there was something else that he missed too. Another 2 points he didn't get that he could have got. I think probably where maybe he was judged a bit harshly, in my opinion, was Flo.
Yes,
I think they took away, and once again, I haven't seen the scores since the day. I think they took away just because his pace was so slow. Consistently slow. So in my opinion, hey, that's Flo.
Yeah.
I look more at Flo as this is the problem. If it's going up and down.
Same.
I don't care if the line's here or the line's here. Consistency is all good when I judge Flo. I look for stutter steps, unnecessary pauses, and landings that don't disperse the impact enough in the sense of they like stick it too much and I see like the flow of their body get disrupted.
Yeah, I think he had one stutter step in the flow department that he would even agree upon, but I definitely saw his post on Instagram and him kind of being a little disappointed in the result that he got, even though he won speed, but you know.
Oh, no, as he should be. So it's funny because, not funny, none of this is funny, but to me, honestly, it is humorous just because I see it all from a different perspective. 2 years ago, me and Jared were on the phone yelling at each other after the comp. So to go to this one, and number one, for him to participate again, for him to win speed, for him to win the qualifier, to then partake in what we did after the competition, to me, it's one of those tough things to where it's almost like, what I look at it almost as like Anderson Silva when he, in my opinion, beat the ever-loving fuck out of Michael Bisping, but Michael Bisping won because he just touched him more times.
Yeah, totally.
I think Jared is, in my opinion, he's the best in America right now. I think he beats anybody, and I know certain people are like, what about this guy, this guy? I see them more as in gym people or one trick here and there, way more spread out as far as daily, technically, outside, versatile. Jared's number one in America, in my opinion. Obviously, what does my opinion matter? I don't fucking know. But it does. But then you put him on a course, which is what we always say in freestyle too, is the athlete versus the course.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think that course was the best course for him. He did amazing at it. But once again, it's like why I would like to have just more competitions with different setups, because I think he could show up and rock a different course, no problem. I honestly don't think the course was for him. I think maybe the pressure. We did give 20 minutes, 10-minute break, 20 minutes to warm up. I know he somewhat wasn't a fan of that, but to be fair, that's what everybody had to work with, not just him. So would I like to give more time? Absolutely. There was other circumstances that made the times not work for what was originally in there. But I think he did amazing. I would have to look at the top whatevers, but I'm also not allowed to just make changes. It's up to the judges.
I think it's just tough for competitions within our sport, because there are some sports where competition-wise you are able to, I guess, rationalize who the best is, because the sport is so dictated around like one actual format or playground that you're on. Whereas in a parkour competition setting, it's a variable environment that changes every single time. And it doesn't necessarily reflect who is the best at the time. It's who is the best on that course, on that day, in that run. I know, for example, like Daniel Ibaka back in the days, arguably the best parkour athlete anyone would have said, but didn't necessarily translate that well to competition, and didn't necessarily compete in competition. So yeah, it's not always reflective of it, especially within our sport that's so environmental based,
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I would say, I compare ours to skateboarding as far as competition, not as a business. I think it's 100% not the same business, but as competition, it's similar. So that was my first passion sport, was skateboarding. And I grew up liking Rodney Mullen because he could just do some cool shit and he didn't need anything else. It was him and the board.
Totally.
But then I found Mark Johnson. And I said, okay, this guy, it's not a dude just playing with a skateboard. He bombs rails. He hits any kind of grind. He hits any kind of ramp. He'll go to a place and just do something that you like, I've never seen that before. So that was like the big takeaway there. But then I started... while I was watching that, vert started to become a thing.
Exactly.
But I would hear everybody say, that's not skateboarding. That's not skateboarding. I'm like, well, they're on a board.
Yeah. But it's a different...
but they're not in the street. Yeah. Well, the street's pretty tough. I got to dodge cars. I could commit to skating all the way over to this place. This is before Uber. Skate all the way to this place, go to hit this stair set, and I'm booted out before I even get to. Like, that's pretty cool. You just have that in your backyard or whatever. But like, no. Then the X Games, it started blowing up more, and I was like, and Tony Hawk all of a sudden is the man.
Yeah.
Even though before that it was like Stevie Caballero, like I said, Mark Johnson, Rodney Mullen.
Yeah.
Simon Woodstock was on the come, but that's a different story. That's a different guy. So all of a sudden it's Tony Hawk and Andy something and Bucky Lassick and Bob Burnquist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool. Then all of a sudden Ryan Sheckler shows up. And a whole different brand of people like the sport that don't skate. Yeah. And he's bombing in the streets.
Yeah. Nigel Houston.
So I was like, okay, this is cool. We're back to the streets. This is pretty dope, whatnot. Then all of a sudden, vert started to make somewhat of a comeback. A little bit, not too big. There wasn't like any, in my opinion, there wasn't any A-listers, but it was the street. Sheckler was gone. So the big thing then was all of a sudden the sport was like, okay, we've been there, done that. We've seen the new. We're back to the old. This is really weird. And all of a sudden there was this thing that was called Big Air.
Big Air. I was going to say Mega Ramp and Big Air. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, what was at the X Games that was like, skateboarding was in there, but it wasn't number one in any realm. All of a sudden, that is the thing. That is the Sunday night X Games thing. And not only that, the guy for, I would say over a decade, Bob Burnquist, who was always 4th, 5th.
Yeah, exactly.
3rd, 7th. All of a sudden, he is the fucking man because the sport was realizing the sport needed to change. Not we need the new player. Not we need to go back to the well. The sport changed, and all of a sudden, the guy that was the mid-card is now the man. And I look at our sport very much the same. So over the, 12 years of me doing competitions, anytime somebody comes to me with a new layout, a new plan, a new criteria, number one, I always say, try it. Number two, I'll sometimes think about, wait, I've done it before. Hold on, just so you know, this is why we don't do that anymore. But number one is always try it, because you don't know what players you're going to get in that, and it's going to click with better than the time that I did with the players. I don't know what course you're going to build with that criteria. I don't know if just some new movement's been developed, so that old thing that we designed that we thought would be cool, that's in the middle of the Art of Motion course that nobody used, we're like, fuck, that was a bust. That was $2,000 bust. Now it could be hot. 10 years ago, we were on a boat doing parkour.
Yeah.
What did Art of Motion do this year? They're on a boat doing parkour.
I know.
Did one guy try to say that he was the first to do it? Yes. Is he? Absolutely not. But that's okay. Also, 10 years ago, we did a speed course with flips involved.
100%.
What did Art of Motion do this year?
Yeah.
Speed course with flips involved.
Yeah.
Was theirs better? Arguably, because we did it 10 years ago.
I was going to say.
You know what I mean? But did we have Ed Scott 10 years ago? No. He probably would have been in elementary school, I think,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
No offense to that. But like, it's, and I did not go online and shit on those things that clearly I think took from stuff that we did. And I mean that we did it. Because you were as much in the designing phase of the courses as I was as the assistant stunt coordinator and the judge. But because I don't want to also tear down people that are trying to invent, if you want to say it. I mean, I don't think there's anything new really being invented or created.
Just
it's all spawns. It's all, yeah. Or it's the same as like, I now get it too why certain like comedians don't go listen to comedians anymore. Because they
100%.
Unknowingly siphon that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, they hear
Just
something
inherently.
funny, they laugh. 5 years later, they're writing jokes, and somehow it turns into this joke that they heard, you know, and stuff. So I tend to be thinking this is malicious. The guy who's saying that he's the first to do this, maybe he's unknowing. You know, I doubt it. Who didn't watch that? I think that's the highest spike in the word in Google's history.
Yeah.
So I highly doubt he didn't see that, but maybe he forgot.
Yeah, maybe he forgot, or maybe he was young, or maybe
We're old. I forget that sometimes too. We're old.
Yeah,
we're old. 10 years to some people was they still haven't really lived 10 years multiple times enough to get it.
Yeah, I've had that talk with some people, how it's almost crazy that like generationally now we're at that cusp right now where the new gen, who is absolutely at the top tier, almost doesn't know about the generation that we grew up around as being the top guys.
Sure.
Like there is a large portion of the parkour community that has no idea what Daniel Olabaka's impact on the sport was and the way that he dominated, for lack of a better term, back then. Whereas right now, arguably, I would say there's a lot of people that are major players in the game, but back then he was the man. Like there was no one else even that could hold a feather to him, with the exception of, you know, guys on the come up that we got to hang around like Oleg and Jenks and Philly D and stuff like that. But
if he was around
different.
them, he could pretty quickly figure out what they do differently and then
bigger.
Implement it.
Yeah, and do it bigger or higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had not to discredit him, he had the vessel, I call it. So like I also look at our sport as like NASCAR or IndyCar, which normally takes some explaining. But if you think of every athlete, they get their car, and then the driver, which is them, is their mind. Mm-hmm. So they're in their vessel. And some of us get granted or gifted, maybe that's not the right word, have for whatever reason, because they worked hard or whatever, but they get, you know, an Indy car. Well, some of us are in like a Honda Civic.
Totally. No, I
from genetics and just not being so lucky learning the basics.
Yeah.
You know, so he was gifted. Him, Ben, Jenkin, I'd say Nate Weston has that body. Mm-hmm. It looks like that frame that's just like Eric.
It's almost made for the sport.
And I think any of those guys too in other generations, if you put a helmet on them and send them out to the football field, they're going to be successful. You put a bat in their hand, they're going to be successful. You put them in the Coliseum, they're going to be successful. You know? Yeah.
I agree with you in a lot of ways when it comes to that. And now along the lines of like competition formats and always being willing to take a look at other people and trying things. I know one of the things you may not be able to discuss at length, but I'm going to call you out because you're wearing the shirt right now, is another project that you actually brought up to me years ago as far as its inception and conceptualization was going on. Yeah. It's cool to see it come to fruition now. So can you let people know as much as you can about what Nail or Fail is and what it entails?
So first and foremost, it came off of just me watching all the different competitions and seeing what's been working, but also what hasn't been attempted. And then it was also me listening to the community and the culture and trying to find a way to where you listen to people who aren't interested in competitions, but what they like most about the sport. But they don't like competition at all. Like most of them are anti, which I'm very much not anti anything. So that's where it kind of organically was more coming on. It still honestly is organically coming. We shot 5 episodes, and while we were shooting it, we were trying to figure out, how do you judge it? How do we edit this? Who won this? You know, just all those, while we were shooting it, because it was just one of those things that I was trying to wait for the perfect moment. And I said, after 2 years of COVID, with this sitting in my mind and not being able to do it, I said, this is the moment. We're flying these guys out to Florida. Everybody's going to be there. It's Tampa. It has these iconic locations. We'll We'll, feel it through. We'll fail forward through it. Something good will come of it.
Yeah.
And so far it has. I don't have anything to show you, but yeah, the idea is nail or fail. And basically, we went to some iconic locations out in Tampa, and the rules are far more open and broad, and it's a little bit more, I would say I took a lot of inspiration from Ink Masters. I took a lot of inspiration from Vale or Bust, which was a skateboarding competition format that I liked a lot. I also took, like I said, as much as I could just from people in the parkour community, the things that they like to do with parkour, but aren't necessarily thinking of them as competitive.
100%.
And the idea was just to get everybody together, everybody have a good time. If you walk away, you're automatically a winner. Doesn't mean you won, but and you take it from there. So the big thing too was like after a bunch, so many people didn't even know. Some people literally joined because they were just watching, and they go, "Can I get in this?" And I was like, "Yeah, throw on a shirt, you're in." And it was just so much more free flowing from what we just did with all the officialness, all the conversations I've had to have with like. I'm working with a school right now, designing a parkour program for them, and all the like regulations and boxes that you have to check, all these things. And I just took it way more with an idea of, instead of literally explaining these rules, just getting all these creative people together and just sending out an energy with them, and them sending out an energy, and just looking at each other and being like, okay, that's okay, play it. Oh, okay, that's okay. Everybody feels good about it. Let's go. And I'm really excited to see how it goes. I think it was pretty successful. I'm excited to see how it lays out.
Can you give away any hint of the format of it, or do you want to wait for people to see it?
Honestly, we haven't started editing yet, so I don't know how much it'll change. It was like the complete opposite of us from the film world.
Yeah, totally.
To where it's like, here's the script, here's the shoot schedule, here's the shot list, here's the lens, here's the camera angles. It was like me, Fernando just had live mics. We had 5 live cameras. We set like a perimeter, which people broke, parkour athletes.
Yeah.
And we just basically let them throw down a certain group of athletes for 10 minutes, which that evolved at one location. And the idea was who nailed the spot the best, in the sense of showing parkour, free running, big tricks, competitive. So seeing what other people did and also doing it to show that they didn't just do their own stuff and stay in their own wheelhouse, as well as who had the least amount of fails. Yeah. So that's the nail or fail, where it kind of comes from. And then we were thinking about the judging in one way. It was going to be like a point system. Every trick's worth a certain amount of points. That had to go out the window, because I was like, they threw so many fucking tricks in 10 minutes. Who could recap it? Yeah. And then it went into, let's think like Ink Masters. Like, let's have Jimmy the Giant, George PK, and myself just sit and have an organic conversation and find who we think
won overall,
nailed the spot.
Yeah, totally.
And that everybody, each time we would just bring it then to the people competing and say, hey, we think it could go this way. And they'd say, sounds good. And it was I almost like cried when it was over, because I've never done something that's, I would say like lackadaisical, but it wasn't. It took so much energy to get there. It would have been silly to try to then control that energy of all that I brought in there and try to put it in that box. It made me think of when I was, well, you know them better, but I was filming Jumpstart. I had like Ben, who had never been an actor.
Yeah.
So I was really working with him on acting. But then when it came to like Kane and Solomon, who both have theater backgrounds, film backgrounds and stuff, they were just kept asking me questions. I said, just do what you think's right. And they just kept saying, no, but what would he do here? I'm like, whatever you think. And they just knocked it out of the park. And it wasn't on the page, because I just knew I have a certain caliber here. You get the right people in the right spot, magic's going to happen. Let it go. Work with it, like guide it. That's why I was emceeing it and judging it. So there's some kind of guidance of keeping the train on the tracks. But we still got to edit it and really piece it together to see honestly what it is.
Sick.
Yeah, I don't know if that...
What's the estimated timeline? 2022?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, I can't sleep on it. I also didn't make anybody sign NDAs. I didn't make anybody say they can't post their own footage of it. I was really trying to go with it, but... to have like Kalen Chan show up on the day in a knee brace. He just did a live after 5 Saturday, 1 freestyle Sunday, and he showed up and just saw what was happening. Actually, he was at a different location with some people, heard what was happening, because I was trying not to blow it up too much, because I was afraid to like make it too big and it would fail. I'm like, I think I don't, whatever. I don't like to overpromise, underdeliver, and I don't like to set myself up for failure. So I think I have a good gauge of what I can control or not control and stuff like that, And he heard about what was going on, and him and his wife got in an Uber and drove over and literally just walked up, saw what was going on, and he just goes, "Yo, can I get in?" And I'm like, "I got the mic, we're filming live, we're going." I go, "You want in?" He's like, "Yeah." I go, "Let's go." Yeah. So stuff like that, I think Danny, I don't want to mispronounce his last name.
I know who you're talking about.
But he just literally showed up. Like, I was having dinner with him the night before, and he goes, "Hey, I heard you're doing something tomorrow." I go, "Yeah, we're doing something." He's like, "I don't even want to, like, I don't need more details. Can I be in?" I'm like, "You sure?" He's like, "Yeah." I go, "All right, come." So, and he did, and he went ham. And I met that guy maybe 2 days before.
Yeah, he goes hard.
Yeah, and he doesn't just go hard for no reason. I mean, he's not just an adrenaline junkie just throwing himself for, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like, he's pretty strategic with how he does what he does and things like that. So when he said that, I was like, wow, maybe we're really like doing something here, So fingers crossed. I think it's to me it's a 5-episode pilot right now. Even all episodes, the whole season and stuff, I still look at it as a pilot. We're gonna feel it through, and already in talks with potentially going over to the UK and doing it with. I would like to partner and do something with Breach, but we'll see if we can make it happen.
I saw the tattoo.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there was like 5 or 6 of us that said,
"Who got it?
Huh?
Who got it?"
Started with 5 or 6. By the night of, it was myself, Matt Hadley, Steezy Steve, Travis Verkey. That was it. Yeah.
Okay.
It was us 4. But literally wrapped that night, went that night. Yeah. It was just, we just all got the nail here. 2 of us got it here, and 2 got it down here.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it was, there's some stuff I probably shouldn't talk about because we shot it pretty guerrilla, illegal. So, that'll be another podcast.
Exactly.
That'll be another podcast.
So
but
I know,
it was super freeing to do like the most official thing I've ever done in my life for a week.
Yeah.
To literally the next day, just waking up and being like, we're just gonna go. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So I know one of the other things that you're greatly involved in, maybe I should separate it into 2 parts, but we'll just see how you choose to answer it. If you want to separate, you can.
Sure.
Are you still doing parkour certifications for coaches? And then secondly, are you still designing gyms?
They go hand in hand to a degree. Some people want a gym design and they're brand new, then they need insurance. In order to get insured, they need certification. Some people just want the certification for themselves, whether they're stunt people, ninja people, personal trainers, things like that. But yeah, very much still doing it. Because of the pandemic, we switched it all online, which I was always hesitant to do just because I didn't think it was the best way for it.
Totally.
Not that it's not doable. I think everything's possible, but it's like juice for the squeeze. And I always look at safety as number one. I've never broke a bone in my body, and I don't look at it as just because I'm lucky. Like, I'm a lucky motherfucker. But I don't take unnecessary risks, and I definitely would never take an unnecessary risk with a student.
Yeah.
I would never teach a student the way that I learned. I would teach them, the best way I think safe for them. So in person's normally always better. So we switched off. We developed a whole thing called Parkour Pro Trainer, which as far as I'm aware it definitely was, I don't know if it still is the first insurable online certification for parkour coaches to be certified themselves. So you would go take the video quiz, then take a virtual test. You then buy the insurance for Travis Wong to teach classes in public spaces, parks, backyards, things like that. You then could take level 2, which is the same video quiz first. Then you do your virtual test, and that's how you can teach groups. Then level 3, same thing, video quiz, and then it's spotting and more of the freestyle. And you're buying insurance at that point to cover you and your classes. No LLC needed, no gym needed, nothing like that. So that was doing really well during COVID and stuff. And then the gym started opening back up. So a lot of those coaches, that kind of certification lapsed, and they're back in the gym because the gym buys the insurance and they're more covered. Because if there's a problem at the gym, the gym handles the insurance.
Okay.
So where we've seen a good give and take is with the UK. We've had probably like 24 people in the UK take the pro trainer because we can't fly over there. The gyms aren't the same there, and they can't get gym insurance there right now through Parkour UK. There's a weird, not trying to shit on them, but there's something weird going on with the insurance there. So we've had a few people that are just, being careful, came and took ours and are ready for that. So, I mean, as far as in person, I think we just did 8 different states from October to December. And then we normally have an off season till summer, and it picks back up. And then the big one is we're going to the Philippines in April to do an accelerated for the Philippines Obstacle Sports Federation. So it will be funded by the government. It'll be at their own facility, closed to the public. It's just their coaches, and it'll be an accelerated level 1 through 3 in person. So I'm really excited for that.
Sick.
Yeah.
And then what about as gym design is concerned? I know you've been working on a few different things, and I know that you also have a line of gear you should shout out just so people that aren't aware of it can have the opportunity to purchase. Yeah,
absolutely. So we have 2 lines of equipment. One is integrated obstacles. It's like Legos kind of idea with parkour equipment. And then the other is PopUp Parkour. The big difference, all are modular, no bolts needed in the ground, nothing like that. But the integrated is more for like a gym. And it is modular, but not fully breaking down. The other is pop-up parkour, where there's no bolts or screws. It all presses together or breaks apart into flat stacks. I throw it in my Audi wagon, bring it to the park. I teach class. I throw it back in my Audi wagon. It's super simple. I don't have any tools. And then with the pop-up, we also have soft equipment, which was designed with Norbert's, who for like 3 decades I saw at every gymnastics gym making the soft stuff. I reached out to them 2 years ago and said, how could we work together? With your knowledge of foam, vinyl, and Velcro to make something that's good for parkour. It's kind of impact and abuse and not too far off from, going outside or anything. Because I also see all these gyms using soft blocks from gymnastics in the wrong way for parkour. It's wrong for how they're designed to be using. So we're trying to develop a safe way for it to happen that way. And I think we've unlocked a really good vibe with the pop-up parkour. Because like I see gyms teaching it outside with the soft stuff, and it holds up well in the grass, no problems like that. Then they bring it back in the gym and holds up, shoes, no shoes, adults, kids. So we've grown in that way. And I'd say mostly in the last 2 years, I've grown more into the park development. So not just gyms in schools, as far as indoors, but I designed a park for Australia that's still been getting made. And then I designed another park. I can't say where it is, but technically been talking with Guinness World Records. And if it follows through, it looks like it's going to be the world's largest parkour park. So that's still being built, but that was a real big one. So
crazy, man, crazy. And of all the things that you do, which one do you find the most enjoyment out of, if that's even able to be put on a scale, I guess?
I don't think it is. I personally am very hard on myself if I don't feel I'm progressing. To me, the word success means progress. And I would like to progress till the day I die. So I don't always I turn down jobs that I think I'd be good at if I've already done them. And I also want to, in my 30s, I started getting more interested in perspectives, because in my 20s, I thought I knew who I was the best, and I had it like dialed in. This is right. This is me. I know. And I really just started hating myself, and I realized a lot of people didn't like me so much anymore, because I was it made me almost negative and like not as open to talk about new things with. So people got bored, with me. And the more that I kind of grew, the more I realized like I was interested to learn more about other people's reasons for why they do what they do, and not look at it in a negative way or take it personally like, well, I can't do that, so it's bad. I don't know if it was competitive. I don't know really where I'm going with it. But the idea was, in my 30s, I started also realizing, well, shit, I actually accomplished a lot of my dreams, which was the tattoo I got, I think maybe 10 years ago when I moved to LA, just to give me focus, because I was doing so many other things, but I wanted to do my dreams. And I realized I technically had done most of my dreams. Like I had been on the big screen, but I didn't notice it, because when I got on the big screen and saw myself in a movie, it's like In Time with Justin Timberlake or whatever, which he's a hero of mine, just for somebody that's been able to do everything so well. I didn't look at it as I accomplished it because I was a background stunt player that day. I wasn't Justin Timberlake in the movie, but the goal wasn't to be the lead in a movie. It was to see myself on the big screen. So I had to think back, like, no, you did do that dream. That was the dream, get on the big screen. Yeah. Same with, I had a Guinness World Record, but I never looked at it as I had one because I got a call on Monday morning from Guinness, and they said, will you come down here and break this world record? And I said, fuck yeah. And I got in my car, and I did it. By the end of the day, it was over. And then it was on the show. I didn't even get to see it. Like, but I didn't like, but it wasn't, I had this, if it wasn't a record that I wanted, did I really break it? Yeah. Yes, I have a Guinness World Record. And then it was the same. I wanted to design, I wanted to work for Woodward. And I did. I did the first ever parkour camp for Woodward. But we were in the gymnastics gym. They hadn't done parkour yet. It was called a parkour camp. But it was like, it wasn't the way that in my mind I kept fighting for it to be, even though I had already ticked the box. So then on those certain things. So when I look back, I was like, wait a second, like you've done these things. Now you're like forcing them to be done the way that you dreamed they would happen. But that's in your head when you're asleep. That's in a different world. Maybe it's a world that's already happened or a world that's going to happen. I don't know about that shit. But But in this world, in this time, I've already done all those things. Do I really care if I was on the big screen and I was the lead actor? And then I thought about it, I was like, no. Do I really care if it's a Guinness World Record that I'm like I've trained my whole life for? No. Do I care that like Woodward's now doing parkour camps and nobody knows I did the first one? No. Do I want to do another one? No, they pay like shit. Yeah. So it's like, the more I started thinking about that, I was like, I could move on from that person. I did everything that person wanted to do, but his ego made it this like unobtainable way of accomplishing these things and keeping me trapped. So the more I started releasing that and being like, thinking outside of the box, like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's kind of like, like the Australia park is a great example. They said, will you make this park? And I said, sure, what do you want to do? And it was so small, the space, and it was so confined with what they were allowing me to do. But I just kept doing it to be like, I've never designed a park or a playground. So the fact they're even calling me, I should just do this and just say I've done a playground. And I finally got through it, and I said, cool, I've done it. I don't think I ever want to do it again. That was not fun. Literally 6 months later, I got a call from somebody that literally goes, we want you to design a parkour park. And right away, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it. Thinking, I didn't say that, And as soon as they just started going, I knew the whole reason I did the one in Australia was because I knew I could do this now, which was way bigger.
Totally. Yeah.
And way more free. And I also just knew right away to say, nope. Here's how I'm going to do it, or I don't want to do it. And they respected all that. Because before, I didn't know. I wasn't confident enough to say, we should do it this way, because I'm like, it might fuck up. I'd rather, And so the more that I've opened the world to my world, to that kind of idea, and the more I started calling people and realizing, hey, they probably wanted to succeed at that in a different way, but I'm going to let them know, yo, you did that. Like, I forget who it was. Like, called somebody the other day, just say, yo, I saw that you did that. That was awesome. And right away, they went into, yeah, I wanted it. I go, yo, stop. You can tell me all that you want, but I just want to let you know I saw it and I'm proud of you, and that was dope. And they were like, I appreciate that. And the whole tone changed, because then they started talking about the things they liked about it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what turned to that or made me see that. I think you're a huge inspiration to it, because I've also seen you do things that aren't as big, and I don't mean this in a rude way, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it, that aren't as big as you are, but you've never done those things. Yeah, so it's not like let's go back to maybe something not so personal. Let's go to Justin Timberlake. For him to be the #1 selling artist of all time, kid star, blah, 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 fucking tick every single box, to then go into movies. Yeah. I don't remember what his first movie was.
Totally.
But I promise you, it wasn't The Social Network, David Fincher.
Yeah. But
he got to that, So even like that made me start seeing things like that, towards like, just because I was at this high in judging parkour or certification doesn't mean I can't now design something unless it's the best, or I can't just fail at something or do something that I want to do because I'm too afraid I'm going to fail at it.
Yeah.
I used to think that, but then I realized, like, who's watching me? I don't know anybody who's, like, the people that are watching me and just message me and say, yo, I saw you did that. That was awesome. those are the ones that matter. The ones that message me and say, hey, you fucked this up. You did this wrong. You should have done it this way. You should have done that. Most of them, if they start like that, they ain't my friend. And they don't know me, because if they knew me, obviously I'd fucking want to do that. It's the ones that start with that whole, like, I see that you're trying. I see that you went out on that ledge. You tried that. And those are really the things I'm looking for more than designing a gym, doing a certification, nail or fail. I'm in this more, maybe I wish I was more in my 20s, because I think I would have felt more free than in my 30s.
Yeah.
But I can't go back yet. So that's more where I'm at. So just certain things like this even is a prime example of the old me probably would have said, nah, let's do it in a month, because I got this big thing I can,
talk about.
Yeah, I can sell. This was one of those experiences. So I don't know if that really answered the question, but that's where I'm trying to go and be more, and the things that excite me the most.
Yeah, 100%. No, it definitely answers the question. For the longest time, I talk about this on here repeatedly. I got in my own way so many times just for lack of failure. Yeah. And as I get older, I have a lot of regrets of like, why didn't I just do that? I should have just done it. Even if
Is it lack of failure or
fear of failure?
Fear
of failure.
Yeah.
All the time, bro. Even back to when I was a kid.
I wouldn't think me knowing you as long as I have, I wouldn't think you've ever gone through that.
I think a lot of people think that because I do so many things, but there are a lot of things that I still didn't get a chance to do. Like one of the ones I bring up as like a common recurrence on the show is like, for example, excelled at martial arts competition, nationally ranked, excelled at track and field, did Junior Olympics, right?
Yeah.
My biggest regret is not playing basketball more as a kid. I wish that I would have pursued it a lot more, because it's obviously the sport that I'm the most passionate about. Whenever I would have 3 to 4 seasons of Clippers season tickets, whenever I get the homies together for a box suite, it's at a basketball game. Yeah. What sport am I enthralled with? Basketball. And I just was like, oh, I'm too short. I'll never have the chance to play professionally, so why should I even try? Stupid as fuck, right? Yeah. There's guys that have played there way shorter than myself.
Well, I don't know if it's stupid. I mean, you're pretty analytical and smart, and you always have been, I think, looking at how much does this play to my strengths and how much does this play to my weaknesses, and you just probably did juice for the squeeze.
At the time.
Oh, I can go outrun these motherfuckers in track, so I'm going to go get the most bang for my buck while I'm here for these 4 years.
But as I get older,
but enjoyment.
As I get older, I'm like, damn. And also just regrets, A lot of people say like, I live a life with no regrets. I'm like, fuck, I have a lot of regrets in my life. A lot.
I think anybody who says I live with no regrets is a fucking liar. Because I definitely regret doing things that I've done too, as much as not doing.
Exactly.
So, let me think, genetic flaw that I have nothing to do with, that I just was blessed with, I guess, would be my memory. I have a gangster memory.
Same.
That tortures me sometimes
Same.
more than elevates me. And that was a very tough one to find a way to get, instead of having that torture in front of me, slowing me down, find a way to put it behind me, to push me, to then untick those memories and say, hey, that memory was fucked, but I used that to fix it when this time came. So like a more personal one, once again, is, I don't know if you remember, but on our flight to the Boston Art of Motion, me and you were hosting and I was judging.
Yeah.
It was either the flight there or the flight back. I think it was the flight there, because I think the flight back I had a horrible seat. No, it was back. I had a horrible seat on the way there. And me and you were then rooming together, and I go, I'm not fucking doing that again. And I switched my seat, and I think we sat next to each other. Because I was next to, I was against the wall, and there's crying babies, and I'm like, kill me. So with you, we were sitting there talking, and you said, you were telling me about all the things you had going on, and part of me was just like, fuck, I just did the art of motion, and I got nothing. That was the thing, I didn't quite understand. I spent a month prepping the art of motion where no other judge spent any time.
Totally. Showed up
and then asked me, how should we do this, Robbie? I'm like, let me tell you. So, but we were on the plane, and you were telling me about all these jobs. And the moral of the story was, you at a certain part just basically said, man, I wish people would get me jobs. Because it was like 10 minutes of you telling me how you gave somebody this, you gave somebody that, the producers wanted somebody to do this. And I remember you saying, I can't wait for somebody just to get me a job.
Yeah.
And I remembered that. And then many years later, when I was still in my ego phase, I was gifted a opportunity to give people jobs, stunt jobs. And one of them was you, that I gifted. And I fucked it up because I got too big for my britches thinking how I was doing it. It was one of those, I guess, heavy as the crown, but I didn't know. and it actually fucked up our relationship.
For a second, yeah.
Well, no.
We were both in ego phases. Yeah.
Yeah. But and it's fine. It's all good. But I fucked it up, and I did, and I really did. I admit it, because I thought I knew what to do instead of being like, I should communicate with Travis, who's probably been here before. Instead, I thought I knew what to do.
Yeah.
And not that I was wrong. I was wrong doing that because me and you had such a long past. I should have just been down to just talk about it instead of, I know it's the best thing to do for me and Trav. I'm just going to make the decision. So it fucked things up, which is fine. We came back. Everything was cool.
Totally.
But there was definitely hesitation to ever cross that bridge again because everything else with us flows so naturally and so great. But the business, all of a sudden in that realm, was tough. But this opportunity just came like a few weeks ago to where I could go, like another opportunity came up towards like I could quit the job that I have and take this one. And I thought about it and I was really in my mind like, okay, how do I get both of these jobs that I have now? How do I get both of these jobs? And then part of me started, which this is what I think is kind of the newer part of me, the memory, the stuff like that. Wait. Who have I done wrong? Or what memories am I least proud of that I could potentially put a new memory over to seal that away? And out of nowhere, it goes, maybe Trav would want this. But part of me then, the ego or whatever it is, goes, oh no, this is too small.
Yeah.
This is, for me, it's big, I guess. But for him, I don't know if I'm actually doing him a favor or doing him a solid, whatever word you want to think about. I don't look at it as a favor. I looked at it as like a solid. In both ways. I think it was for both. I think it was best for the project too, in all honesty. When that clicked, I said call him no matter what, because I think it's best for the project. If I can't be there, I want to leave the project better than me being there. I don't want to put it with somebody less than me. So then like, man, Robbie, we wish we would have had you. This project would be so much better. I instead was thinking less ego towards like, fuck, if I give him somebody better, the likelihood of there being another project is the real way. So when I called you and I said, hey, I got this project, and you were so positive about it to where I go, see, this is how it should have been the last time. I should have just called him and be like, hey, I'm not quite sure what to do here. What do you think? Yeah. Instead, I was like, and it all worked out really good. You got the project. I got to do the thing I was going to do. It all worked out. So for me, where I'm coming from, that was like another thing of these memories that I'm trying to put and use more behind me and fuel me to do these scary things, these fearful things, these whatever things, to at least get rid of these memories of failure that I look back on and sometimes just go down a dark hole.
I feel you.
There's nothing I can do about those. You could apologize, and I have. To me, words don't mean anything. It's words are just like putting down the deposit or the reservation. Yeah. It's the action.
That's why I say actions speak louder than words.
Words are important. I don't want to say words aren't. I know a lot of people say words ain't worth shit, but that's not true.
There are verbal contracts that exist.
I got many verbal contracts that thank God the other people held up on.
Oh, exactly.
Because I had no way to cash it.
Yeah.
But the idea is, that's the deposit or the reservation is the word, and then you see if their actions, hopefully, the actions speak that they tried to back it as much as possible. So it's that whole thing too of, to write, like I've done a lot in the last 2-3 months. It's been I'm very blessed in the last 3 months. I wasn't so much for the 18 before it, but one of the biggest things was to be able to right that wrong, or fill that hole or whatever it is, the word of that all happened when I was doing the cup, when I was doing Nail or Fail, when I was talking with Guinness, when I'm getting my mom a house in Florida. So many things were happening that were all great, but the one that once it happened and I went, I felt a weight go away was that one. And it was one that I don't think you thought twice about, or maybe I didn't really, but that's those things that are so funny. That's like, oh, that was on me apparently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Yeah, that was the one that I wasn't planning on talking about today at all. But I literally felt like when Sunday was over and the director called me and said how great he was and how awesome everything was and how much he loved me, I felt this weight, and it was just cool. I don't know.
No. You know what's funny about that is that the old me, back when we even got into that thing, the old me would have viewed jobs like that almost like they were smaller than me. Not in the sense of like, hey, it didn't pay me the same amount of money. But I had a mindset back in the day of like, I'm on the biggest movies in the world. All these like smaller based jobs, like I just really could give a shit about. But the new me, as a more evolved and mature me, is like, dude, every job is a new job and a new opportunity to meet new people and a way to just leave a lasting legacy upon your name. I have bad memories of myself from the past on jobs that were smaller jobs or lower budget jobs where I probably had more of an attitude that was deserved or needed in the situation. And I think about them to this day sometimes where I'm like, man, that person probably thinks I'm an asshole. Where really at the time I was just stuck in this ego-driven mindset of like, oh, I'm working on this big thing. Why should I give a shit about this small thing? Or why would I give it as much care and attention? And I can almost just like leave it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whereas now I've just evolved into a person where I'm like, oh, dude, I just want to do cool shit with cool people. And when you called me and gave me the opportunity to cover this job, I was like, well, not only do I have to represent myself and my legacy, I have to do a solid job for Robbie because he's the one that put my name up for this. And so, yeah, even I, as an individual, has continued to evolve to that sense. And I'm trying to write memories from my past where I still just remember distinct memories of being on some non-union jobs where, like, I definitely looked at them and was like, I don't give a fuck about this job. Like, I'm out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was easy for me to leave at those times because, like I said, I just was so short-sighted and just didn't have the life experience and understanding of, you know, the way that this entire business works and also just how small it is and how one day maybe I'll be on the other side of that where I need to call in a favor on someone on a project I'm producing and I don't necessarily have the resources that I would love to have. And yeah, how would I want to be treated in that situation? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's honestly how, yeah, I think I've become more successful too, is like just being honest with every opportunity of like what I don't know, what I'd like to learn. Yeah. Obviously, yeah, somebody was just asking me, it was funny, like the three special guests came up to me individually at different times and they're just like, at the Cup, at the Nail or Fail, or at when I brought them to Austin to show them the gym out there in Intrepid Parkour that I designed because we were getting them to do a tag competition. And I wanted them to see Florida, Texas, and now they're in LA. So I really was hoping they'd see a little bit good weather-wise, but a little bit of the diversity of the U.S. because I have nothing against foreigners or international peeps, but I think a lot of them hear about like one specific piece of Florida and think, or sorry, America, and think that. So I was really like, thought it was important to show them a few different parts of America and stuff. But the other thing was they come up to me and they're just like, what do you do? Because when I first talked to them, I'm just the comp director and that's all we're doing. But then they saw at the comp director that I'm talking to the media guy and helping him set up the shots. I'm helping build the course. Working with the judges, I'm working with the athletes, I'm talking to the parents, I've got the medals, I'm working with operations, I'm working with the athletes as far as like trying to just make the best thing possible. Then we're just going right into Nail or Fail. In between that, they're seeing certain stuff that I do at the night, which was like finalizing with the director your guys' kind of stuff, because he was curious about changing some certain things and he wanted to run it by me, and I'm like, dude, just run it by Trav. And he's like, I just want to make sure. So you saw that. Then they saw like my ability to work with people on certain phone calls. Then they heard phone calls where I'm just like, yo, I don't care. Don't call me, call them. This isn't I can't help you. They just heard all these different things, you know, and they're just, each of them were like, what do you do? And it was so funny because I just told, you know, I said, I don't know, man. I know like one thing I stole from William Spencer, or it might have been D from Subs Over Hype. I don't remember which one. But they basically said, you know, a human Swiss Army knife is what they were. And that was just something that I was like, I don't think I was that yet, but I go, I think I want to be that. And that's where it's come more into of just the growth of trying to figure this out. And same with you. We used to be stuntmen.
Yeah. Not anymore.
When anybody asks, what do you do? Like, it's probably 6 or 7 down when I say a stuntman.
Yeah.
Unless I'm talking to a director or a stunt coordinator, you know, stuntman's pretty far down the list.
100%. It's great. It's something that comes up all the time. Like, I mean, I've even had that where I'm on dates with girls and they're like, they're almost intimidated, but they also have the same question of like, what the hell do you do? Because you do a bunch of different things. And I'm getting to that point right now where like, I don't want to be put into a box. I just want to be me. And that's going to be an all-encompassing person, an individual that does everything. And I'm going to do everything to the best of my ability. I may not become the best at it, but I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And that's going to be rewarding and fulfilling enough. Whereas before, I would have wanted to always be the best at one thing and got in my way in a lot of different ways and probably limited some opportunities that I probably could have had because of that, if that made sense.
It does. And I think it comes down to established. And I think at first, when we moved out to LA, it was a different beast. Social media was not really a thing. Yeah. Google Maps didn't exist. Like, you know, we were printing out maps to get to auditions, and then if you got a call for another audition, you didn't have the map. Yeah. So do I go back home? Do I just wing it and try to get there? You know, you're also, you know, carrying around your headshot, your resume right there, and it's So besides those things changing, the goal was to get established in one thing, and we all were like stunts. That's our thing, and I would say in the first 3 years of me being here, I tapped every part of the film industry. Even though stunts was my goal, there was still an opportunity. I, you know, was getting acting. I was either the high school jock or the police officer. That's about it. But those were the roles. And then I was getting coaching, you know, for like gymnastics. I was blowing up. Like I was teaching national champions vault in the girls division, even though I did not want to be teaching gymnastics, as well as trying to learn to teach parkour, because that was a big thing, you know. So it was that idea of getting established. I wanted stunts the most, but all these other things were happening. And then once you really, I don't know if I ever really did peak in stunts. I think I got more distracted. I realized as I was getting into stunts that it wasn't what I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. Or what I thought stunts was. The more I was learning about stunts, the more I was like, I don't think this is what I moved across the country for, you know, to do this. But the big thing was film. I knew film. So that's when I, you know, wrote something, directed something, got some funded, yada, yada, yada. And I've always still been a big fan of film, but even that started going out and it started turning more into, no, I really just like parkour. And what does that mean? And it's like, well, I want to build something I think people can learn on. I want to insure these people so they have a safety net. I want to put on competition so we can somewhat start finding out who the best is compared to before. It was just like a culture thing. You were just, you know, the best, but we didn't know where that started or ended or whatnot, you know. So to me, it actually all started coming back to parkour, especially when I started finding out how I was writing and directing was I was actually thinking like parkour wise. Okay, what's the obstacle? Yeah. How could I overcome it? Do I want to do it efficiently, or do I want to do it with some style? Like, so like writing the script, at first it was efficient, just get it out and get some money. And then it was rewrite it. Now, how do I add my style to it? How do I, instead of just wall climbing over this, do I do something cool over it with this dialogue? How do I add that? And the more I started doing that, the more I really found parkour was my, you know, gateway drug to unlocking anything. So that's where I've kind of geared more, where I think you come also a bit more with the martial arts background. You know, it's a little bit competitive. It's a little bit more kill or be killed. There's a little bit more self-pride, you know, and stuff like that. And I see it with how I think you move to where it's, you know, when I called everybody on the stunt thing and I said, look, Travis Wong's potentially available. He's going to come. Every stunt player was like, oh, fuck. And I knew that was great because right away, what was going to be this short film that none of us were making good cheese on, you know, there was no residuals coming. There was no, we weren't getting any bumps or adjustments. Yeah. But all of a sudden, the fact that Robbie is not going to be there, they were a bit bummed. But when they heard Travis is coming, every single one of them just go, oh, fuck, I need to up my choreo. Oh, fuck, I'm going to wreck, you know, for this guy. Because the idea is like, that's more important than probably seeing this short film, YouTube, Vimeo, wherever, to the stunt players. Totally. Obviously not to the director, producers. They're going to do what's right for the film in their eyes, you know, and stuff. But I know how much more it elevated that. So just by me saying your name to these people that don't know that I know you or how I know you or any of that stuff, just your name and stuff, to where most people don't say Robbie Corbett's name. You know, it's WFPF, it's USA Parkour, it's PopUp Parkour, it's, you know, great obstacles. So that's kind of who knows? I just I don't. Yeah, I'm not very important. I'm just a piece of the tool, you know, a tool in the chest. But with your name and stuff, so I think that's also like where I see the kind of difference is how much, you're the face, you're the front, and how much that actually is worth, which is great. Yeah. You know? it's very inspiring to see.
I appreciate that, man. Definitely trying my best to uphold that and try to maintain somewhat of a respectable reputation. And as I get older, try to just more so just like be remembered for being a good person, not just for the feats that I accomplished.
That's a tough one. So there's definitely people that don't think I'm a good person, but just total honesty, I don't care for those people.
Yeah.
And not that it's, I don't take it personal. Just whatever I'm doing, they see it wrong.
Yeah.
And I just don't care.
But they're not your friends to begin with most times.
It's not even about being friends. They've never done anything that's impressed me. I don't have any respect. They haven't earned any respect for me. I don't disrespect them. But I'm sure it's the same with you, to where it's who do you look at certain people and you think, okay, I could kind of be that person in this field? Or do you always look at, I'm Travis Wong, how can Travis Wong be in this field? So what I mean by that is like, when I was directing, I was looking at Nolan, Fincher, Tarantino. When I'm designing a gym, I'm looking at, Walt Disney. I'm looking at different fashion. I'm looking for like color palettes and stuff. And then I'm also looking at like places I've seen that I think, oh man, if you just, like that. And then when it's designing a competition, I'm seeing, first off, what athletes are coming, what's my budget, and what can we really do to progress? So like for you, where is it always, how can Travis be this? Or do you look at certain people and take two?
So the old me was definitely more looking at other people and how can I take two and how can I make sure that I'm on the same level as this, or how can I at least like be comparative to it?
Yeah.
But the new me is more so just being undeniably confident in what I want to do and what my mark is and what my place in that is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I still don't do research and due diligence and R&D comparatively and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm at that point right now where, I feel very secure with who I am and what I bring to the table. And it's not a confidence or an arrogance thing, but it's more of just it's almost like a personal self-esteem thing that I feel more confident in now. And I'm willing to just take that chance and do things my own way, whether that fails or succeeds. Just knowing that at the end of the day, I'll be most proud and most satisfied with having done it that way.
Yeah, and there's I would say a safety, but I don't know if that's going to make sense to doing it your way, because your way, or I do the thing my way. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, then if it doesn't work out, I can at least say, okay, I did what I wanted to do.
On my terms.
And it didn't work out. Now, why didn't that work out? Was it what I did, or was this not the thing for me? Compared to, if you go the other route, like, just so we're clear, I wasn't ever trying to be Nolan, Fincher, or Tarantino. Number one, I didn't have the budget. I didn't have the experience. I wasn't talented enough. But you try to, embody somewhat a little bit, But then there's that, exactly like you're saying, at least if you did it your way. This comes back to the competition, where the speech I always have towards, if you see this course, you know what you want to do, that you're going to look back and be happy about 10 years from now, just fucking do it. Who cares if you have a gold medal or whatever? If you don't, do that. If you want to win, do this. So I think there's that kind of box to play in. But I think the regret, I would rather have the regret that I did it the way that I wanted and it just wasn't received.
Yes.
Compared to I did what everybody told me to do and it was successful, but I don't really like it.
Yes, 100%.
There's no me in that.
100%.
That's what was always odd to me about people remaking other people's movies.
Yes.
It's kind of like, why would you do that? That's not you. Go do yours and call it yours.
100%.
Because it's always that weirdness. Same as when I designed a park for the first time. I didn't look at anybody else's park. When the next people came to me and said, we want to design the world's largest parkour park, I didn't. And they said, Guinness wants to talk. And I said, cool. And Guinness goes, will you research other people's parks? And I said, I'm going to design mine first. Once it's locked in, I'll go do the research to see what boxes we got to tick. And they said, okay. Because I didn't want to siphon it. I didn't want to play by those rules.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that influence. You're going to go make a Batman movie? Yeah, okay. Go watch Nolan's, go watch. Yeah. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I agree. It also it leaves you open for comparison, which can be a dangerous thing just mentally, and spiritually in a lot of different ways. And yeah, I just want to do my own thing so much so that I can't really compare it to other things. It's just what it is in my own way, you know?
Yeah. Funny enough. Yeah. So I was flying, and it's, I don't know, to set the tone, I guess. I was flying first class from Florida to Texas, and I just helped my mom start building her home, her first home, owning a home since she had to sell ours when I was in high school because she couldn't afford it anymore. And I'm flying from there to Austin, which is the first real gym I was proud of that I designed. And in between that, I left one phone call and I was about to have another about this park. And I thought about it and I was like, okay. I was just drinking, thinking, well, Walt Disney, concert venues, Eighth Wonders of the World. I'm just thinking all these things. And I wanted to put on Pulp Fiction to just be like, because I don't know if you ever heard Tarantino talk to Joe Rogan about the certain, and it wasn't about watching Pulp Fiction as a movie. It was like Tarantino finally getting a budget and the crew that he wants to do whatever he wants.
Do what he wanted, yeah.
But there's a lot of inspiration from other films in those. Mm-hmm. A lot of, like one of my favorite artists, Kanye West. Person, not my favorite person. Artist, I love Kanye West. Yeah. He bites a lot of
totally
bits from songs
samples
that you wouldn't. Well, yeah, I call him bites. He takes like a chunk out. You know, he just like, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that, and it's a bite because it's also not, the sample isn't clearly a sample. He takes it, he chews it up a bit. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I was trying to think the same thing with Tarantino, but then something while I was there watching it and getting inspired, and I really was, I for some reason switched, and this is not something I was ever premeditated. It was one of those things that like it's odd, but I feel like I was truly feeling the moment. I then turned off Pulp Fiction at the point that it was, and I clicked on the Bradley Cooper one with Lady Gaga.
Stars Born.
Stars Born. And I started getting more inspiration from that because Bradley Cooper's character, like, that's his first time directing, writing,
starring,
and being that character and singing. And then not only that, he decided for his first time singing on screen to be next to fucking Lady Gaga.
Totally.
Like,
one of the best
vocalists. How insane do you have to be? Like, could you imagine the pressure of waking up that day, calling the shots, verifying the script, going to sing, direct Lady Gaga? Like, get out of here. So I thought of it like that. I want to be that fearless when I design this park. I want to be like, just go for it. Go for it.
It's either pressure or it's one of the greatest days of your life to think about what you're achieving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It could go both ways. It could be so much insurmountable pressure because when you look at it from that way, it's like, I could fail. But if you look at it the other way, you're like, look what I accomplished. Look where I'm at. I'm now directing. I've now written this. I'm producing this. I'm directing this. And I'm singing alongside one of the most badass vocalists of the time. So it's like that whole thing we've been talking about the entire time here, which is, do you look at it as a possibility with fear of failure, or do you look at it as, oh, look what I've done, undeniably?
Yeah. Would you say I made A Star Is Born, or would you say I wrote, directed, produced, sung, and act next to Lady Gaga in a musical? If you say it that way, really doesn't matter if it's a good movie or not. It doesn't matter the box office.
You made it.
It was a good box office.
Exactly.
It was a good movie.
But you made it, yeah.
That's probably a better way to say it, you know? And that's one thing that I think I was learning from that is there's so many more ways to win if you're open to the winnings. If you really got that tunnel vision, you know, the finish line. And if you don't pass it, that can be pretty... that could make you lose in a lot more ways in life because you hold that loss instead of like, you know, shit. For me, when I did my first marathon or triathlon, I fucking sucked. And don't get me wrong, but I said right away, I could do better than that. And I did a second one and I did do better. And then I never wanted to do it again. But it was just that. But at the end of the day too, I look back at the first one and I said, I did a triathlon. I completed one.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I was able to say, cool, I did better than that shit showing of like almost having a heart attack passing the finish line. But it's one of those to where I've found the more people I meet that think like that, they're just happier. You know, they're not as much grounded with just their failures and just so they're not as toxic, you know, and they're also just easier to talk with because you can have a conversation about the little things and not just be having, because if I only talked about the big things, we'd have 5 things to talk about.
Yeah.
And then the more you'd ask me about them, the more I'd probably not be excited.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of mindset that I've been finding way better, as well as I think podcasts in the last 2 years. When I was in New York, I was alone for a lot of it because my girlfriend actually made her go back into the office and shit. So I was listening to podcasts. I was calling more people on the phone because I was just lonely. And that helped me also just listen better. I don't think I was ever the best listener. I think I was so argumentative and so like just being used to told, you can't do that. And then I go do it. So then I thought, man, these people don't know anything. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Shouldn't do what? You shouldn't jump roofs. Well, it's paying the bills. And I've never broke a bone. You shouldn't do that flip. That's dangerous. I'm doing it. It's paying the bills, and I'm successful. You should go to college. I don't see anything at college for me. So I skipped it, and all of a sudden, I'm making more money cash than the person who told me not to go to college. You can't be a cheerleader. There's only females on the field. Okay, I'll be the first and only male cheerleader. And that in my youth, those kind of things were happening so much that it made me stop listening to people. Mm-hmm. And I then had to realize you got to choose when to listen and not listen. And you have to listen a little bit no matter what. If you close yourself off, then you're never going to get any good or bad. You're not getting any of it. So you got to be a little bit open and then start seeing if you're resonating with whatever the person's saying. And if you're not, then close it off. Don't listen. But the more I started opening more up to listening and just hearing people, the more stuff like this just flowed more natural too. The more just day to day was better. It wasn't 5 good days a year. Every day was a good day, to some extent. Yeah. And that helped a lot, especially when you're, 30 and you can't just go, I don't know, it's not the same for me just to hear a CD and I had a good day. Like when I was in my 20s, if I heard a new CD, I had a good day. If I saw a new movie, I had a good day. If I don't know, whatever was easier. When you're in your 30s, you want something a bit deeper to have a good day.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I know you don't like Brendan Schaub at all, but he had a Fight Companion recently where on it, Rob Dyrdek was the guest of all people. And Rob did a very interesting talk. I'll have to try to find the segment if I can and send it to you. But Rob has been able to quantify how many bad days he has because so many of them are good days.
That dude's a genius.
And he's literally been like, I can tell you how many bad days I had last year. And it was like, I had 4. And he named them. And I was like, whoa. And it was just the way that he reframed his life into try to be more positive thinking and what consisted of having a good day that he was now able to quantify an actual number and times that he actually has a bad day comparatively. And I was like, wow, that is a cool way to look at life. And I hope that I have way more good days than bad days to the point where, I can just point out like, oh, I only had like 3 bad days in 2022,
That's funny because that's another perspective because I know what podcast you're talking about, but I only know about it because how bad Schaub fucked up by somewhat disrespecting Rob Dyrdek unknowingly about not knowing that Rob is still producing certain shows that he then said have turned to shit. Yeah, I don't know if that's the only thing I knew about that conversation.
Yeah.
So it made me not watch the conversation.
Yeah.
But now you're coming in and saying like
there's a whole
exactly just because I don't agree with one person in a conversation, I'm not going to listen to somebody else's who I could learn so much. Because Rob Dyrdek has been a huge inspiration to me, not just from Robin Big. I repped DC shoes all of high school.
Forever.
I skateboarded in middle school to 9th grade. I wore DC shoes till my mid-20s. And I had no idea that he was pretty much the reason for that shoe being successful.
100%.
Obviously, I loved Robin Big. Fantasy Factory was pretty cool. Ridiculousness is what it is. Yeah. But I still, that's a guy that definitely has learned to fail forward. He's definitely, I don't know if you heard of his movie that he made that like totally bombed.
Yeah.
Because he did only what he wanted. He paid for it. And he shits on it like so much this day of like how much of like what we just kind of talked about, like how much he just maybe would have listened. It would have made it financially way easier on him.
Yeah.
But no, that's a dope dude. I think one thing that happened too in the last few years was when I was growing up, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I wanted that was it.
That was one of the things
that was it. That's the only reason I first started flipping. I saw a moonsault and I saw like a Hurricane Rana and I went out to my backyard trampoline. I'm like, I gotta do this. And I had a stepfather who was very mentally abusive. I think it actually benefited me. I don't think he was doing it to benefit me, but it benefited me. But he would always just tell me, that's a dream. That's a fantasy. You're not going to be a pro wrestler. Do your homework. Pass this English test. Do this, do that. And it literally stunted my way. But one big thing was I was watching the show Tough Enough, and this dude, John Hennigan won.
Yeah.
And I even called to vote in. I've never done that. Like, I called, I voted, I said, I want that guy to win. And funny enough, he won. And then he disappeared. And the moral of the story is then when I moved to LA, he's training at a gym I'm training at.
Yeah.
I started helping him design some certain tricks and skills. He then is in the first film that I ever wrote and directed. Just did a small bit. Just like, I literally called him and said, hey, I think it'd be cool if you're in it. Like, it'd mean a lot to me. I'm very nervous if you're there. This would be great. And he came in on like Father's Day morning. We snuck into a bus stop that looks like an airport and shot it all guerrilla with him in a suit. We killed him that day. He was a B player in the movie. And that's a guy that should not be a B player in anything.
Totally.
So for him to do that, holy fuck. Then, he, becomes the Prince of Parkour, does these certain things. Cool. We kind of separate. We fall off. I then see that like WWE is not going to renew him.
Yeah.
And I just shot him. I think I said something like, AEW can't wait or something like that, which is like the B whatever, but I don't think it's the B, but it is like considered the B.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Bellator to UFC.
Yeah. But I think it's different. It's the same to me when like ECW was around for WWF. ECW was way cooler.
Totally.
But it wasn't.
Wasn't as
if
good.
I had to go take a job, I'm going to WWE.
Totally.
But ECW is cooler. And he ended up calling me, and we just I ended up going. We met at Vale. We just talked about tricks, and we talked about it was so organic about, oh, what if you did this to that, what if you did that, because he's about to go, but I don't know if he's going, just so we're clear. I don't know. I think he's going to there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's such a smart guy to where literally he's like, well, if I'm going to go there and now all of a sudden everybody's a decade younger than me and everybody's been inspired by me, I need to freshen this stuff up. And he's not so egotistical that like he's working with me, I'm nobody. But he's like, yeah, how do you do that? What do you think about this? What do you about? And it's just so like, and then he's going to other people and asking the same. And he's prepping, even though most would look at this as maybe a downgrade or, he's from the majors to the minors. His outlook is like, yo, I get to go fuck with all the new cool guys. Like, and I'm the big one coming there. I'm the big guy. And that to me was just so crazy to see. Cause to me, he's like, what he's done to impress me and motivate me was little things to him, big things for him to give up his time and his space, but also just the idea that like I followed my dreams. I didn't follow my dreams, my first ones, which would be a wrestler, but how much that pro wrestler has still come back into my world, even though I've actually gone completely away from it. Like I got to meet Triple H at a random event, and he gave a speech, he did all that stuff, and then me and him started talking, and we talked for 20 minutes, and his agent's sitting there like, keeps nudging, we gotta go. And he's like, yeah. And he just keeps talking to me while we're at this whole event. And we were just shooting the shit so casual. It's like somebody that I've known my whole life.
Yeah.
Even though he's never known me. He doesn't know that I've known of him my whole life. But how open he was, how much he was down to talk, and stuff like that. Meeting Henry Cejudo just on the fucking street in New York City. I never knew how much I respected that guy till I saw him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck, wait. I actually am super impressed with you. But I didn't know till the energy was there and how open he was to talk, and then realizing like the boxes he's ticked and how he just right away just goes, yeah, man, I'm going for legacy. And I knew exactly what that meant when he said it. He's like, if Dana White, who I respect the fuck out of, isn't down to help me get to my legacy, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go do my legacy apparently somewhere else. But for me, legacy is, what is it, triple C? So it would be quadruple C.
Quadruple C.
Yeah. And stuff like that of people that aren't, he's not a Conor McGregor, but he's a fucking winner. That dude won Olympic medals, won and defended in two weight classes. Nobody else has done that. In and out. And I would rather be like that, I think, than be like some of these others that are stuck in it even past their prime. You know what I mean? And seeing people like him, I'm like, okay, that's pretty dope. Or you see people like, I don't know if you know him, but like the Triple H, like I said, who is now married to Vince
Stephanie
McMahon's,
McMahon.
and she was there, and you could tell they're in love. He didn't just do that to fucking as a play. What do I know? But I didn't get that vibe. Like they're in love, as well as was talking more about next NXT, which is him basically making the whole lower tier of minor leagues. He did all that, and he's there in Florida working with them, grooming them, helping them, acknowledging them, and like the similarities I saw between me and him with who I want to help in parkour to him there. It's just when you start getting around your heroes, I guess, you just start looking at the world differently, you know, and you start, I don't know about you, but like when you start really seeing like, wow, aside he's a wrestler and I'm parkour, but like we're just similar people. Mm-hmm. And same with Henry Cejudo, mixed martial arts, parkour, similar people. And that's really what's like you want to then try to search more for is like, man, who's like the similar person that's gangster in this field? Who's the similar person that's the best in this field? And then you realize you're not that like different, I guess. You're more rare, you know, but you're not that different. You're not that unique. There's a lot of people like you, so they help, you know?
Yeah, 100%. We're all just humans trying to find our way at the end of it in this crazy thing called life. Still searching for the answers.
Yeah, it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Life.
So with that being said, even along the lines of legacy, like we just talked about with Henry, this is a question I always ask people, and I asked you it 3 years ago. I'm going to ask it now to see if it's evolved. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now, and then where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Oh, I don't remember what I said. 5 years from now. Hopefully setting Guinness World Records on this parkour park that I designed. That'd be probably 5 years from now. That'd be great. And then 10 years from now, being the Dana White of parkour, you know, just having a roster of 500 paid parkour athletes competing to some degree. That would feel, you know, coaches, judges, all getting paid, and more so paid, making a living off the sport and promoting it. That would hopefully be the 10 years. I think I could do that in 5. But I'll be
Conservative.
Conservative. I'm a conservative, so I'll say 10 years.
Hell yeah.
So man. I think that, and hopefully, you know, we're doing this JAMCast at that park, or I don't know, doing something on top of the Pyramid of Giza would be sweet. Something like that.
Hell yeah.
That's some power. Yeah.
Sick, man. Well, yeah, more than anything, I appreciate you coming through. For someone that was hesitant to have a conversation, we've had quite a lengthy one on a bunch of different topics that I think will hit home with a lot of different people. And, you know, more so just hopefully as an inspiration to some younger audience members out there, or even some older ones that may need to take away from some of the life lessons that we've been able to learn and talk about. So thanks for coming through. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, appreciate you giving me the platform with no real narrative, and good luck. I don't know, coming up with whatever the title is.
Already done.
Yeah, I hope people sit through it, and dope, man. I enjoyed it.
Hell yeah. So before we get out of here, can you look in this camera and let people know where they can continue to follow you and stay up to date with everything you got going on, whether that's yourself personally or if you want to shout out any of the handles to the projects that you're running?
Yeah, I'm Robbie Corbett. You can find me at the Robbie Corbett on Instagram, as well as Nail or Fail Sport Instagram. I think we have one post, so it's still in the making. And then USA Parkour official Instagram. Pretty easy to get a hold of through any of those channels. And those are probably the best places to find me.
Hell yeah. With that being said, guys, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for a brand new JAMCast, interviewing influential members of the movement community like Mr. Robbie Corbett himself. So that being said, guys, getting one more very special shout out. Thanks for coming through, man. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine.
Hell yes. And as always, guys, coming through, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another JAMCast. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Peace.